Hello, everyone. We warmly welcome you all to our special program brought to you by Indian Achievers Forum. I'm your host, Vatika Singh. Indian Achievers Award is an honor that celebrates the people who went extraordinary to effectuate their aspirations and ideas. In this series, we emphasize not only on the struggles and achievements of the people, but also on the social contributions they made to their native land, India. Before introducing you all to our one such achiever, let's take a look at the small lady.
Indian Achievers Forum is driven by a full-fledged advisory board. The board consists of experienced personalities who have excelled in their respective careers. Together, the forum organizes conferences, events, workshops, exhibitions, trade shows, and B2B initiatives in India as well as abroad. Where there is passion, there is achievement. And where there is achievement, there is Indian Achievers Forum.
Mr. Shiv Sehgal is the President and Deputy CEO, Head Institutional Clients Group, Edelweiss Wealth Management. In this role, Shiv provides leadership to one of India's largest equity franchises and is responsible for the capital market businesses, which include institutional equities covering sales, research and trading, and asset services. Shiv has worked in the investment management and financial services industry for more than 2 decades, the majority of which has been in emerging market funds in the Pan Asia markets. Hello, sir. How are you?
All good.
All right, sir. So before entering into the questions, today you represent and lead India's largest financial conglomerate. So tell us something about yourself and your professional journey.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Vatika. Well, it's been an interesting journey so far for me. What started out as an intellectual hobby turned out to be a interesting career path so far. I have many miles to go, but as a young kid, I was always fascinated by the world of economics. Demand and supply equilibriums and the interplay on business cycles and the company profits. That intervene between them. So while doing my part-time jobs during my masters in Australia, I started dabbling in stocks and trading, which taught me a lot about speculation, about risk management, and about the dangers of leverage at a very early age. And as they say, your earliest losses and lessons are the best way to learn an education in the markets. And I was fortunate to have most of my mistakes in the early part of my career. And I think, when I reflect back today, I was working part time and I had saved some money. It took me an entire, 3 months of dabbling in stocks and investing to lose it all, and I took it very hard upon myself. I thought I was a smart individual, and I was doing the right kind of courses. I was, investing a lot in myself, and I basically failed in the basic tenet of financial management. And from there on, I basically started honing my skills. And in the early part of my life, when I started investing, I think it was all about not putting the risk management in place. It was basically letting your losers run and cutting your profits very early. The very opposite of what is needed to be successful. The good thing is I kept a journal of every trade and everything that I learned, and to sharpen my skills and to become a better investor and a better financial manager. And the basic saying in the market is that once you take care of the losses, the profits will take care of it themselves. And it's a very famous Warren Buffett saying as well. So planning is the objective part of investment and finance. And once you learn that, you start with the worst case and work from there. You will become much more nuanced. You will become much more objective in your thinking. And as you start your investment journey, and you keep your emotions aside, which don't empower you, you become a better and better individual at the game. And as I said, capital preservation is the most fundamental tenet of money management. People who forget that tend to be the ones who fail. As I said, in my early days, I used to keep a blog on a charting software, and just to keep a tab of all my developments as an investor. And it was more of a journal for me. In this is the early 2000s, so internet was not that predominant. What happened was there was a fund manager who happened to see my blog, and he had invited me for a coffee. And I thought, just a like-minded investor, it'll be good to catch up. What turned out to be a by chance meeting happened to be, as I said, a fund manager working for a hedge fund company. And he had started his own journey, and he invited me to be a part of that journey, and I joined his investment firm. And that was the start of my professional career in investing. And this was I didn't elaborate. This was in Sydney in the early 2000s in Australia. And I was fortunate enough to be part of a commodities bull run that was going on at that time in Australia, right? And this is the early 2000s. China was developing at a very fast pace. It was all guns blazing. And my trajectory has always been that luckily or fortunately enough, I've been in all growth regimes in my professional career. I'm a big believer in the follow the money regime. So I spent the early part of the 2000s in Australia, and from there on I could see what was about to envision in Asia, in Southeast Asia in particular. And in 2007 I moved to Singapore, again working for different emerging market managers. The 2000 to 2008 super cycle in recent memory, especially in emerging markets, was driven by the emergence of China and the integration of the global manufacturing supply chains that was happening at that point of time. It translated into a huge economic boom and strong corporate return on equities across not only Asia but India as well. India was going through its own phenomenal run during that period. The world output, at that point of time, grew at over 10% per annum. We haven't seen that in a long time since then. And as in recent memory, most of the recent fund managers called the 2003 to 2008 the super cycle, which took world output from almost 33 trillion US dollars to 61 trillion in just almost 6 years. And then in 2014, as Mr. Modi came to power in India, and the BJP became the flag bearer of a phenomenal invest in India, ease of doing business in India. And the marketing campaign that started by BJP was phenomenal from an offshore perspective. And that's exactly at the same time I decided to move back to India after a stint abroad. And being closer to my parents and family. And my journey had been always on the buy side till then. From there on, I moved on to Goldman Sachs in India, looking after their equity franchise, and that was again a very fruitful journey. And then in 2019, I further decided to move to Edelweiss, where I'm the president and of the capital markets division at the moment. And Edelweiss is one of the India's largest capital markets franchise, and I'm a proud member of the team today. So that's been my journey so far. I'm still learning every day from my colleagues, my mentors, and it's been a fruitful journey so far.
What a great journey, I must say, but still miles to go. Moving ahead, how do you feel on being recognized for the second consecutive year in the category of business leadership?
Yeah, thanks. It's always a privilege to be recognized by your peers, by your mentors, and such an eminent body. Leadership, especially in the category of leadership, which to be honest, like cannot be taught in any programs. You can study the nuances of it. You can study all the management books, but for me, leadership has come as you go on the job. Managing people is not an easy task, as any leader would know. But if you're true to your beliefs and honest to your people that are working with you alongside you, I guess it becomes a natural byproduct of your beliefs that transcend into the organization and your team. And I try and lead by example wherever I can, and I want to create an environment for everyone that is working alongside me to be happy, to be growth oriented. And there is no reason why people should at least have a mentality towards not failing. I think failure is probably a negative connotation that is used, but reality is that you only learn by failures. And my only belief is that there is no I in the word team. My success has been because I had the privilege of working with exceptional colleagues in all my life. And again, similar in Edelweiss, I have some phenomenal colleagues. And it's just a byproduct. You're not individually successful in an industry. While I have my own beliefs and philosophy and I work very hard, I've also been gifted with the having people around me that want to do better in their lives and for the organization.
That explains why you have received this recognition. Moving ahead, you have worked with some of the best and recognized multinational organizations across India, Asia, and Australia. So, what are the key learnings that you implement into your day to day businesses and team management?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
As I said, I've exceptionally been fortunate in my life. I have had some excellent colleagues and mentors that have mentored me. I have learned from different leadership styles that my bosses have had in my life. But what is most important is your own personal philosophy. I think that is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out, and how you lead others by example, as I just mentioned. There was a famous quote which I remember by Jim Rohn, which says that the challenge of leadership, is to be strong but not rude. It is to be kind but not weak, to be bold but not be a bully, to be thoughtful but not lazy, be humble but not timid, and but not arrogant, and have humor without folly. And there are a lot of characteristics in this code, and if leaders can imbibe that truly in their day to day workings, I think a good leadership quality will automatically be a byproduct of that.
Right, sir. So now moving ahead, individually, how do you define your contribution to the Indian capital market?
Wow. Okay. Capital markets, they play a very crucial role in the economic development of a country, right? They provide the financial resources required for the long-term sustainable development that any country needs. The development of viable capital markets within that country is therefore a very extremely important element and a byproduct. The macro financial stability, the transmission of the monetary policy that the government and the RBIs or the central banks in any government want to implement. It becomes especially important for India. As we all know, India is a capital-starved country, and we have many miles to go and create the India that mimics. As we were students in history, we all learned about India was Sone ki chidiya, many centuries ago, and India has the potential to again, we have the all, the right D's, as we call it in our financial industry. We have the right demographics, we have the right, the deregulation going on in the government, we have the right. The debt levels are very low in our country. That's we summarize as 3 Ds. And I think we have a long way to go in that regard. It's been a great start to this decade, in a sense. What we have seen in the first 2 years of the 2020s has been roaring for India. It started off with the pandemic, but despite that, I think the economy and the way the resilience of our people has been phenomenal. My contribution, if you were to ask me in capital markets, is to drive the efficient allocation of capital for driving the right policy changes, having the right initiatives and imbibing that knowledge and culture in our equity franchise at Edelweiss, and imparting that knowledge across the industry as well, and making sure that capital grows to areas, goes to areas and is allocated to areas that require that growth. Right? It is not just financial market share that we're talking about. We are about sustainable employment that also is created when allocation capital is efficient, but also to help deploy capital to enable the digital infrastructure that is very much required across our country. We keep talking about 5 trillion achievement of the Indian economy. I think we're almost there. Despite the pandemic, we have crossed 3 trillion, and it's not just about 5 trillion but 10 trillion in this decade, as I see it. And whatever contribution that everyone can make, especially in the industry, towards that goal will go a long way in making us proud Indians. Yeah.
Right. Since you mentioned about proud Indians, you must be knowing about the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign prevailing in the country at the moment. So, what are your views on the campaign and how much do you conquer with it?
But I think Atmanirbhar is a great initiative. The fact that Atmanirbhar means self-reliant, self-resilience. I would mimic that in if you were ask me what outlook would have in the capital markets. I think Adam Smith's theory of factors of production to increase effectiveness is the way I would look at it. In a globalized world, we have all known we need imports, right? It is something that we cannot differentiate from. And I think every country, they may have certain elements and competitive advantages somewhere, but Atmanirbhar to me means for India that we have the factors of production and we utilize them in areas that enable our ecosystem for creating the right infrastructure for developing those industries without incurring serious costs, where we can be world leaders and we have the competitive advantage, right? But at the same time, we have to also self-respect and make sure that where we don't enjoy those productive advantage, whether it is in services or manufacturing, the economic advantages, right? We shouldn't be uh, shying away from importing them. But in a capital sense, one theory that comes to me especially is that I want to see India to be able to finance and invest our own capital in the growth of our country, right? China has demonstrated that really well in the explosive growth that they saw, at least in the last 2 decades that we have seen. They have had a phenomenal trajectory. The consumer technology adoption created for them new companies, new business models. In the process, they created wealth for the investors. India is following a very similar path, and investors are betting on this eventuality of massive digital transformation and platforms that we are creating. The government has also played its own role in that regard. I call it the Jam Trinity. The Jan Dhan Yojana, the Aadhaar, and the mobile transformation that is going on in India with smartphones. I call it the Jam Trinity that has accelerated the bank account penetrations in India. Let's not forget what's happened in the proliferation of the 4G acceleration as well. Today in India we have 769 million odd wireless broadband subscribers. If I compare that to 2015, we had just shy of 100 million subscribers. These subscribers are using mobiles for digital payments, shopping online, entertainment. This is the foundation which supports today's digital consumers and different needs. What has transpired with that is that there has been a tremendous growth in private equity, venture capital, pre-IPO funds, which have seen strong inflows. In 2021 alone, we created almost 33 unicorns in India. But if I zoom out and I look at the last decade at large, we can see how clearly India has changed. The digital adoption that I'm talking about is not just limited to the cities, but has it's become much more rural in its expanse. After industry is changing as customers adopt these digital means for doing business. New age companies are plugging the gap between the demand and supply across sectors. The potential for our new age entrepreneurs, the new startups themes will play out in Indian markets much bigger than what people are envisioning, right? And I hope this trend continues for the years to come. The trend I really want to see in capital markets in India for India to be Atmanirbhar is the fact that we get the funding domestically, right? I mean, we need to deploy our domestic capital funds in much more meaningful manner. In the last 5 years, while the deployment has happened, it's all been foreign money, which we are definitely in need of. But for me, the next journey would be that as we deploy more and more capital, Indian money is deployed to fund Indian growth. I think that will be the real Atmanirbharta from a capital markets perspective. India is definitely on the right track. We are talking about big developments in the debt and bond markets. We have already raised 6.5 billion in the start of this year versus almost 2.53 billion that we raised entire last year. So we are on the right track, right? But it's early days, and for me, whatever the industry can do, what I can do in that process by the platform that Edelweiss can do, that will be great. As I said, to be a part of this journey that India is over, been has started on.
Very aptly said, sir. And we hope that in the coming years we can get back a title of Sone Ki Chidiya. Before concluding this session, you know that IF is being followed not only by mainstream organizations, but also those young minds who aspire to be like our achievers someday. So, what is that one message you'd like to give to a young professional who wishes to succeed in their life?
Well, my dad has been a big influence in my life. He's in the Indian Army. He fought all the Indian wars that transpired. He's no longer with me, but his words resonate with me every day. His pearls of wisdom were, you know, uh, basically he meant every day that learn to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you may want. Right? I think that's probably the key element here. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. And don't be afraid of failures, as I mentioned earlier. Right? To make sure that you learn from those mistakes, and those learnings remain with you as you progress in life. And I guess if you can imbibe all these qualities, that's what I would tell all young people. Be curious. Have a curious bend of mind in everything that you do. And if you have that and you imbibe that, be I learn every day. There is something that I want to learn every day. If you wake up with the thought that what is something learned, something that I'm inputting today, and what is the output, every day you can be better in whatever that you do. And that's just not in your professional life, but even in your personal life. Whether that's a relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your loved ones. If you aspire to become better every day, life will always become better.
And that, I must say, is a great piece of advice. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us today. It was pleasure talking to you, and we hope that you continue to inspire people of all ages forever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vatika. Have a lovely day. And thank you for everyone listening in. Thank you.